You want the truth? I almost didn't start this because my brain looked at binary Acoustics EP321 and immediately tried to take the afternoon off. That's the kind of self-protection you develop when the world keeps inventing new ways to sell you the same hope in slightly different packaging. But here we are. You are here too. Welcome to Superchunk Super Audio Show. I've always had a soft spot for the top-end sparkle certain things can do, the kind of treble that doesn't just exist. It sort of floats, refined, airy, so detailed it makes you feel briefly competent as a human. The problem is that experience usually costs the kind of money that makes you stare at your ceiling at night and reconsider every decision you have ever made. So naturally the industry has spent years trying to fake it. First, they tried things such as balanced armatures, close, but it's like opening a window to fresh air and realizing it's actually just air freshener fighting for its life. They tried micro-planar as well, which gets nearer but sometimes bring this faint metallic aftertaste, like you kind of licked the coin by accident and now you can't unremember it. And for a long time, that was the story. Nice attempts, familiar compromises, same tired ending. But apparently, we have entered the until now phase of history, because this is where MEMS shows up. MEMS is short for micro-electro-mechanical systems, which is a name that sounds like a government program that accidentally gained consciousness. The basic idea is simple enough. It's like a tiny speaker built more like a chip than a traditional moving thing. Fast, small, precise. The kind of tech that makes you think, oh great, another miracle that will probably need 3 adapters and a priest to function. And that's usually the catch. MEMS often need a bias voltage, meaning you normally drag around some sort of special amplification situation, like you are trying to power a small satellite just to listen to music while standing in the kitchen. Also, because it's tiny, it's not exactly famous for bass. It's not here to shake your soul, it's more like it's here to judge your soul. The EP321 setup. Binary Acoustics decided to use the MEMS driver the way it actually wants to be used, as a tweeter living up top where speed and air matters most, and not being forced to pretend it's capable of doing the bass heavy lifting down low. Even better, it does it without demanding an external amp situation, which is honestly the first sign of maturity I've seen in a while. Inside the EP321 is a whole committee of parts trying to get along. A 10mm dynamic driver, a 6mm passive radiator, 3 balanced armatures, and of course the star of the show, 1 MEMS driver handling the high-end duties. In other words, it's not subtle, it's an arrangement that says, we have tried everything and we are done being polite. And here's the part that actually matters in real life. The MEMS implementation in this thing is what they call direct drive. That sounds like a marketing phrase cooked up at 2 AM in a fluorescent office, but the implication is pretty practical. No separate weird power requirement, no extra box you have to justify carrying, no ritual. You just plug it into your normal 3.5 or 4.4 output and it behaves. The kind of new tech that doesn't immediately punishes you for being curious. It also changes the emotional tone of the whole product, because the moment a piece of gear requires a special amplifier, it stops being something you use and becomes something you maintain. A little dependent creature you need to feed, house, and explain to other people. Direct drive, at least in spirit, is the difference between I brought music with me and I brought a project with me. Unboxing, a fast, joyless reveal. The unboxing experience is functionally fine, standard territory where nothing surprises and nothing disappoints too hard. You get a black sleeve with MEMS stamped right on the front, like they are afraid you'll forget why you are here. No meaningless high-res audio logo, which I actually appreciate a lot because the logo always feels like being handed a gold star for successful breathing. On the back, there is a frequency response graph, which is nice in the same way a weather forecast is nice. Comforting, occasionally wrong, and mostly there so you can argue with it later. You already know the real test happens when it meets actual ears and actual music, and your actual tolerance for disappointment. Inside, the earpieces are presented immediately, no drama, no mystery, like a terrible striptease that starts at maximum and ends at, oh, that's it. You get a plastic box with 2 sets of ear tips, and thankfully they don't feel like instant landfill. There is also a generous size case with a fabric finish big enough for the set and whatever small other regrets you daily carry. Build quality. Build-wise, it's got that familiar clear shell transparency, showing off the internals like peeking into an old handheld game system. Those simpler days when your biggest problem was just dead batteries and not whatever this year is throwing at us. The chassis feels solid enough that you could drop them a few times and they'd probably just shrug it off, although I don't recommend testing this theory, but you kinda get the idea. And then there's the faceplate, because even after the box and the sleeve and the not so subtle branding, it still needs to look directly in your eyes and say, yes, MEMS. Remember? Like it's worried you wander off and accidentally enjoy yourself without thinking about the technology for 5 seconds. And to be fair, it pulls this off in the most polite, smart way possible. That holographic shimmer is genuinely pretty, this shifting, iridescent little reminder that you are holding something that wants to feel futuristic, even if your day-to-day reality is mostly keys in pocket and mediocre indoor lighting. It's the kind of visual that makes you tilt back and forth once and then twice, and then you realize you're doing the product's job for it. Marketing, but making it reflective. It's also got a strange contrast. You've got this transparent, look at the internals, practicality, and then boom, this small patch of sci-fi vanity, like wearing a sensible coat with shoes that demand attention. And honestly, I get it. If you are going to put a tiny piece of the future in something people will carry around in their pockets next to the lint and questionable life choices, you might as well give it a little shimmer. The cable. Because they exist, the included cable is an oxygen-free silver-plated copper with a 2-pin termination. My unit is terminated in 4.4, and there's also the option for 3.5 mm, because sometimes you just want balance and sometimes you just want things to work out without needing a new life plan or a new dongle. And now, finally, let's talk about sound. The part where all the promises either deliver or quietly slink away into the night. No surprises here, the EP321 lands squarely in the V-shaped territory, evolution's little gift to humanity apparently. Bass gets a boost, treble gets to shine, and the whole thing tilts forward like it knows exactly where you secretly cave. The real question isn't if it's V-shaped, it's how much and whether that shape feels like a warm hug or a pointed reminder of your compromises. What you get here is a balanced take on the formula with just a slight nudge in the upper mids, not aggressive, not shouting, just enough to keep things versatile across genres without making you feel like you're listening to a sales pitch. Coherence-wise, it's one of the stronger hybrids effort this year. Everything hangs together without the usual seam showing drama of too many drivers arguing in a tiny space. Bass, controlled, not chaotic, handled by the 10mm dynamic driver with the passive radiator backing it up. You might brace for a sub-bass avalanche, but no, it's smarter than that. Detail and control takes priority while the radiator lends this beautiful supporting resonance that keeps things textured and quick. Sub-bass emphasis over mid-bass punch means it stays polite in complex tracks, never turning into the kind of rumble that drowns out the point of the song. Bass heads might grumble for more sheer quantity, but the truth is they always do that. But for the rest of us, it's a relief. Midrange, clean enough to notice. The balanced armature delivers a midrange that's transparent without being clinical. Yes, high-res technical, but with natural tone that doesn't feel processed. Articulation shines, layering feels effortless, and individual elements separate like they have been given personal space. Vocal carry real depth, micro details emerge without hunting. It's the kind of presentation that makes you lean in, not because it's loud, but because it whispers secrets you didn't know were there. Next, Treble, the MEMS promised lands. And here it's where it earns its keep. The direct drive MEMS tweeter, fast, clean, effortless. It genuinely echoes that electrostatic magic we started with. Every extension, a sense of space that opens up the whole experience, depth that pulls you in, no sizzle, no fatigue, just refined sparkle that makes everything feel larger and more alive. It's not perfect, nothing is perfect, but it's closer than the fakes we have settled for previously. Next, Soundstage and imaging. Horizontal and vertical spread feels generous for something that fits in your ear, bigger than a smoky jazz club, edging towards a small concert hall territory. Positional cues snap in place with authority, layering depth like it's got room to breathe. You're not just hearing music, you are placed somewhere in it. And next up, some quick comparisons. So versus the Punch Audio Martillo. The Martillo, this is a different beast entirely. This is bass heavy, primal, the kind of fun that hits you in the chest and doesn't overthink it. Technicalities are solid enough to keep up, but it's built for craving satisfaction over precision. The EP321 flips that. It's more reference leaning with superior detail retrieval and resolution. The buttery smooth airy top end seals it. If Martillo is the party, the EP321 is the quiet conversation afterwards that you remember longer. And finally, the verdict. This thing is interesting, not in the polite, tried sometime way, but in the they actually made the gimmick work sense. The MEMS here lands meaningfully, resolution punch above its weight and enjoyment, a solid A. For the price, it's a reminder that occasionally the world doesn't completely disappoint. If you stuck through this week's episode of the Superchunk Super Audio Show, hit the subscribe, smash the like, and all that good stuff. I appreciate you, and I see you soon.